Hey everybody, what's going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you, and it is going to be a Master Duel video, even though we are not currently in Master Duel. The program you're seeing here is Edo Pro, and the reason that we're here on Edo Pro rather than in Master Duel is because we're going to be talking a little bit about a deck that's not currently out in Master Duel, but has been leaked, and it's one that I'm actually really excited for. So I wanted to kind of talk about it a little bit, what new cards got added to make it possible to play this deck now, and show off some of the combo lines as I've been kind of theory crafting this deck. It's going to be Gishkis, particularly it's going to be Gishki Sprite. So alongside the, what is it called, the Kashira, I can't believe I forgot those cards of all cards, alongside the Kashira and also the Rescue Ace that got leaked in the next selection pack, we also got a leak that we're going to be seeing the new wave of Gishki cards here. So I already briefly covered the Gishki cards, the new ones, in the This Week in Master Duel video where we talked about that, but I want to go into them in a little bit more detail here. I'm going to cover all the new Gishki cards and then the ones that are relevant to this deck in particular. I've been doing just some test hands with this kind of variant of Sprite with the new Gishki stuff, and honestly, I think this is going to be, if assuming there's no ban list changes to Sprite moving forward, then I do think this is going to be the best Sprite variants moving forward. Now, there is a bit of an elephant in the room, and that's going to be the Elf, rather, as opposed to an elephant. Spright Elf. There is always a chance that this card could get banned in Master Duel, as it is currently banned in both the TCG and OCG. However, it is still at 3 in Master Duel, and I don't think... This might just be me inhaling a bit of copium here, but I don't think they're going to be banning Elf on the next ban list. They could. They very well could. And if they do, this deck isn't quite as good as I'm going to make it out to be here. It's definitely still very playable and still a very good Sprite variant, but it does lose a lot of its punch. That said, Elf really is mainly supporting tier limits and sprites, right? That's a lot of the reason why it got banned in both the TCG and OCG, and both of those decks have been underperforming so far this season, right? We haven't seen tier limits do hardly anything at all, and no tournament tops, barely represented on ladder. You can't even call it a tier 3 deck. It's pretty decidedly rogue. And even Sprite, there haven't really been any Sprite variants. The Sprite variants have been struggling to even stay in tier 2 in terms of representation. Now, in terms of power level, I of course am very biased, and I think Sprite is absolutely a tier 2 archetype, but it just hasn't been seeing play that much. So between that and the fact that we already just had a big ban list with a lot of bans in particular, right? I feel like if they were gonna ban Spright Elf, they would have done it already. That's just my 2 cents. But anyway, now that we've talked about that, let's talk about the new Gishki cards. So there's actually 4 new Gishki cards that are coming out, but we only need 3 of them. So I'll talk about the 3 that are gonna be in this deck, and we'll dabble into the 4th a little bit. The first one is going to be this effect monster, Gishki Grimness. This is a level 2 water fish with 600 attack, 700 defense that says, if you ritual summon exactly 1 water ritual monster with a card effect that requires use of monsters, this card can be used as the entire tribute. That's actually an effect we'll see on a few Gishki cards, which is really nice. So if you're summoning a water ritual monster, which of course all the Gishki ritual monsters are water, then you can use this card as the entire tribute. That's pretty rad. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can special summon 1 Gishki monster from your deck except Gishki Grimness. Also, you can only declare attacks with ritual monsters until the end of the turn. You can only use this effect of Gishki Grimness once per turn. So, you can already see how this is definitely helping out Sprite quite a bit, right? This is a level 2 monster that summons another monster directly from the deck, so we know from, plenty of Sprite videos that any monster plus any level 2 monster is Sprite plays. That is enough to make a Sprite board right there by itself, but the Gishkis can do far more than just that. Let's go ahead and again, we're going to look at the new cards and then we'll look at some of the older ones that help support this strategy. We are also rocking 2 copies of the new ritual monster, Evigishki Neremanas. This is a level 10 water spellcaster ritual with 3000 attack, 1800 defense that says, you can ritual summon this card with any Gishki ritual spell. If this card is ritual summoned, you can target 1 monster in your graveyard and special summon it. Cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster special summoned from the extra deck. Once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can return 1 Gishki ritual monster you control to the hand, and if you do, negate the activation, and if you do that, shuffle it into the deck. Wow. So that's a negate of any monster effect, and it can be activated from anywhere. It doesn't have to be on the field. It can be hand, graveyard, etc. And not only do we negate the effect, but we shuffle the card back, which is really relevant. We do have to bounce a ritual monster, which is of course going to be, well, a Gishki ritual monster, which is of course going to be Neremanas itself. But it's still an extremely powerful effect, and it's also an extending effect too, because don't forget this first line, the first line here, that if you ritual summon this monster, then you can bring back any water monster from your graveyard. Any water monster, that's actually really strong. But we'll definitely see how that ties into the combos here in a bit. Another very, very powerful new card that Gishki's got is Aquamirror Focalization. It says, add one Gishki monster from your deck to your hand. During the end phase, if you control a water ritual monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard, set one Aquamirror spell or trap card directly from your deck or graveyard, except Focus Aquamirror. You can only use this effect of Focus Aquamirror once per turn. Note the this effect. That means that you can actually use the search effect. If you have multiple copies, you can activate them all in the same turn. You just only get to set one spell or trap card during the end phase per turn. That's actually going to be a pretty recurring trend that we're going to see among a lot of these Gishki cards. For whatever reason, Gishki is one of those archetypes that just does not have a lot of, if any, once per turn restrictions. Oh, also want to note that the Neremanas, the negation effect, it does say once per turn, but that's a soft once per turn. So if you have multiple copies of Neremanas, you can do multiple negations with it, and that's also going to be relevant for our combo line here. But yeah, the Focused Aquamirror, straight up Rhoda, that also lets you set some spell and trap cards directly from the deck. The other new card that they got is Gishki Necromirror, a new ritual spell for them. This can be used to ritual summon any Gishki ritual monster. You must also tribute monsters from your hand or field whose total levels equal exactly the level of the ritual monster you summon, or tribute one face-up monster your opponent controls. If you ritual summon using this card, you lose life points equal to the original attack of the ritual summon monster. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target a Gishki monster in your graveyard, place that target on top of the deck, and if you do, place this card on bottom of the deck. So, even though they did get this other fourth new card, we're not using it because it's frankly not that great. I mean, ritual summoning using one of your opponent's monsters is fine, but at the same time, that makes it a pretty decidedly going second card. And honestly, you still lose life points equal to the summoned monster's attack. It's just not enough of a benefit to justify playing a rather situational card. So we're not using this one, but I do want to talk about some of the old Gishki cards that we're playing here. Namely, who I consider to be the star of the show, honestly, is going to be Gishki Abyss. This is a level 2 water fish monster with 800 attack, 500 defense. That says, when this card is summoned, you can add one Gishki monster with 1000 or less defense from your deck to your hand, except Gishki Abyss. Note that it says when this card is summoned, by any means, can be normal, flip, or special summoned, but more importantly, note that this card decidedly lacks the once per turn clause and adds cards from deck to hand. So, it's actually not uncommon to summon this card 2, 3, sometimes if you really want to, even 4 times in a turn, and you get to search every single one of those summons. So, yeah, Gishki Abyss is definitely going to be getting us a lot of advantage in this deck here. A couple of other Gishki cards that we're playing are going to be Gishki Vision and Gishki Shadow. They're two very similar cards. They both say that if you ritual summon exactly one water ritual monster with an effect that requires use of monsters, this card can be used as the entire requirement. Much like Grimness, if you're going to ritual summon the Neremanas, you can simply use one of these monsters as the entire ritual fodder, right? The Vision, you can discard it from your hand to the graveyard to add a Gishki ritual monster from your deck to your hand. And Shadow, you can do the same thing, discard it from your deck to the graveyard to add a Gishki ritual spell card. Neither of these searches are once per turn either. It's also worth noting that the Vision in particular is another level 2 monster. So we're seeing a lot of natural synergy with Spright. A lot of these Gishki cards that are already really, really good, they're already level 2. So, of course, they're very good with the Sprites there. We're using 2 of the ritual spell cards, one of each of the other ones besides the new one. One regular Gishki Aquamirror. This is a ritual spell that can be used to ritual summon any Gishki ritual monster. You must also tribute monsters from your hand or a field whose total levels exactly equal the level of the ritual monster you summon. You can shuffle this card from your graveyard into the deck, then target a Gishki ritual monster you control, and add it to your hand. So you could use this to tribute any of these monsters that can be used as the whole tribute fodder. But what I like to do, actually, if I can, is use another copy of Neremanas with Aquamirror to summon the second one, right? So activate Aquamirror, send one Neremanas, summon another. Because Aquamirror can immediately shuffle itself back into the deck and then add back that Neremanas you just used to ritual summon the other one. So if you can manage to get 2 copies of Neremanas in your hand alongside the Aquamirror, you lose out on less advantage that way. But if you don't have any way to ritual summon by tributing a monster, it's actually still fine, because thanks to Gishki Photomirror, this ritual spell card can be used to ritual summon any Gishki monster, and instead of tributing monsters, you pay life points equal to the monster's level times 500. So it does cost 5,000 life points to summon a Neremanas, which is a lot, but it's definitely worth it. And it's going to be a lot of the time, if we have fewer cards to combo with, how we're going to pull off our turn 1 combo line. The final Gishki card that is not new, but we're using here, is Aquamirror Illusion. This is a trap card that says, special summon 1 Gishki ritual monster from your hand. It cannot attack and is returned to the hand during the end phase. This is what we're going to be setting off of the Aquamirror focalization during the end phase. And what this will allow us to do is, basically, during our opponent's turn, we can use Neremanas to negate one of their monster effects and then shuffle it back into the deck, right? Then we can actually activate Aquamirror Illusion and just summon the Neremanas again, and we get to do that again, because the Neremanas does not have to be ritual summoned properly to use that effect to negate a monster effect, and as I pointed out earlier, that is a soft once return, not a hard once return, which means, yeah, if we cheat it out with the Aquamirror Illusion during our opponent's turn, we could just use this once again to negate yet another card effect. So yeah, definitely already seeing, just by reading the cards, how strong they are, not only together, but then with the sprites. I'm not going to go over the Spright engine, because we're just using regular Spright stuff. We're using Frogs as a supplemental level 2 engine. You can definitely use Nimbles, but the reason I'm not using Nimbles, there's 2 reasons. 1, they take up more main deck slots, which slightly matters here. But 2, Nimbles, like a Nimble Beaver, you obviously have to normal summon it, but we're going to want to be normal summoning Gishki Grimness and occasionally Abyss, but most often Grimness a lot of the time, right? So our normal summon is already tied up in our other engine. For that reason, I decided to go with the Swap Frog engine, because it's good to pull off for the Gigantic, gives you extra level 2 bodies, and also we already play a lot of water monsters, so we already have that synergy with the Swap Frog. So this is the list that I have been doing test hands with. This is kind of what I've been thinking about taking to Master Duel once these cards come out. It's a pretty standard, like, Master Duel Spright stuff, right? Like the Frog engine that we have legal, the Spright engine we have legal, Maxx, Ash Blossoms, Call by Nib, Crossout Imperm, and that's pretty much gonna, and then Spright Starters and Smashers, and that's the entire list right there. Extra deck is all just generic Spright extra deck stuff. We're playing Almirasj because we're not only playing the Frogs, but also a lot of the Gishkis have less than 1,000 attack, so there are some situations where it's useful to link off for the Almirasj there. But okay, now that I've talked about the new cards, the old Gishki cards, and kind of how they all work together, let's go ahead and see some comboing here. So let me go ahead and throw back another hand here. Yeah, I wanted to have a hand that started with Aquamirror Focalization, because I want to show you a hand where we combo only using this one card and nothing else. Looking at the rest of our hand, we have a ton of stuff here, actually. We could absolutely completely go off with this hand. But again, I'm going to show you what Aquamirror Focalization by itself and nothing else will get you, right? So we're going to start by activating the Aquamirror Focalization that will allow us to add any Gishki card from deck to hand. Or monster, I believe. Yeah, Gishki monster. We're going to go ahead and add the Gishki Grimness. Going to then normal summon our Gishki Grimness that we just added, and activate the Grimness's effect. We're going to use that to go ahead and pull out the Abyss directly from our deck. Abyss is going to get special summoned to our field, and because it was summoned, Gishki Abyss will allow us to add any Gishki card with a Gishki monster, rather, with 1,000 or less defense. So we're going to want to use this to grab either Vision or Shadow. It doesn't really matter which one you grab first. I don't know, it's very hand dependent, but again, assuming that these 4 cards are all, let's just assume they're all like Ash Blossom, Maxx, Call by Nibiru, right? Just all cards that do not contribute to our combo line. In that case, it does not matter at all which one you grab first. We'll just grab Shadow here, why not? Alright, so we've got our 2 level 2 monsters on the field, and I'm actually going to go ahead and go into the Spright Elf with them first, before we go into Gigantic. Because of course Gigantic will 2-lock us, and we have some summoning of non-level 2 monsters to do here. Going to activate Spright Elf's effect. We're going to get back the Gishki Abyss. Once again, because that card is not once per turn, we're going to get to search yet again. And this time you're going to want to add either Vision or Shadow, whichever one you didn't add before. So this time we're going to get Vision because we got Shadow last time. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and activate both Vision and Shadow now. Again, they both discard themselves to add either a ritual monster or spell. Vision will grab the Neremanas, and then the Shadow is going to grab a ritual spell. Now, if you do have a Vision or another like ritual monster in your hand to use as tribute fodder, then here you can go ahead and add the Gishki Aquamirror. But again, let's assume we have no other live cards in hand and that we're only comboing off of just Aquamirror Focalization. In that case, we're going to grab the Gishki Photomirror. Alright, now we're going to activate said Gishki Photomirror. This is going to cost us 5,000 life points, but it will allow us to ritual summon our Neremanas to the field. And this does a few things. One, because we've ritual summoned Neremanas, we get to bring back a water monster from our graveyard, so we can bring back Grimness, Vision, or Shadow. I'm going to get one of the level 2 monsters. We'll just go ahead and get Grimness here. It doesn't really matter which one you get, as long as you do get one of the level 2s, right? So we can throw that there. This also sets up the monster negate on the field. And fun fact, right? So Spright is known for going into Gigantic early to play around Nib, but here we can't do that because we have to ritual summon. But we actually still play around Nibiru because this Neremanas summoned is actually the 5th summon, right? Grimness is 1, Abyss is 2, Elf is 3, Abyss 2nd summon is the 4th summon, and then yeah, we drop Neremanas to summon number 5. So not only is this a 1-card combo to set up a full Spright board and more, it also inherently plays around Nibiru. Fun fact. So, alright, now we have our 2 Gishki monsters on the field. Let's go ahead and overlay those into our Gigantic Spright. Note that if you were playing the Nimble engine, you could link them off for Sprind and send an Angler and summon 2 Beavers here to get an extra level 2 body on the board. So that does actually kind of advocate a reason to play the Nimble engine in this variant, but I still might try to fit it in. I haven't 100% decided yet. But if you're not playing the Nimble engine, then we're going to go for the Gigantic Spright next. We're going to use Abyss and Grimness here. We'll make the Gigantic over here in one of Elf's zones so it can't be targeted. Going to activate the Gigantic Spright. Again, we're going to ignore the fact that we have this Spright Starter in hand, and we're going to grab Spright Blue directly from the deck. Blue is going to come down. Effect is going to activate. That will allow us to then add the Jet. Alright, now we can special summon the Jet, and again, ignoring that we already have Starter in hand, I'd probably just go ahead and grab a copy here during my normal combo line. Alright, now we have like a few different things we can make. I mean, we pretty much always make the IP Masquerena, right? So we can go ahead and do that, throw that right over there. We can activate that Starter we added, and then you can grab like a Red or something, or if you wanted a Carrot for negation, you could do that too. You could either leave this up if you wanted, or I kind of like going into the number 2 Shadow Mosquito. There's another option you could do, but either way, there you go. That's what this is. Again, this is off of 1 card. Oh, it's actually also, we're not done yet. Once we go to the end phase, we get to activate the effect of Focused Aquamirror in our graveyard, banishing it to set the Aquamirror Illusion directly from our deck. So here you go. This is what your turn 1 end board off of opening only Aquamirror Focalization and literally nothing else will get you, right? It gets you your Spright setup of Elf and IP. You can either have a couple of Spright monsters, or if you would rather go into a rank or a Lake 2, you can do that as well. We also have the Neremanas to negate a monster effect by bouncing it back to the hand, and then we shuffle that monster back into the deck. And we also have the Aquamirror Illusion to summon the Neremanas from our hand again, and we don't get to bring a monster back because it's not a proper ritual summon, but we do still get to use the bounce and negate to bounce this card back and then negate the opponent's monster effect to shuffle it back into the deck. So yeah, that's pretty insane, right? Like, you can already definitely see why this variant of Spright is one I'm very much looking forward to. Because, again, these 4 other cards, we didn't even need them. We didn't even need them. It was only 1 card. Let's do another hand, and let's see, like, what else we can open with. Okay, yeah, I was really hoping for a hand like this, where we can not only have, like, the Focalization or Grimness, but a whole bunch of other stuff in addition to that. So this is a hand where we can absolutely do a whole bunch of insane stuff, right? I'm going to start off the same way. I'm going to start by activating the Focused Aquamirror to grab myself the Grimness. And yeah, you know, in this case, because, you know, Edo Pro always gives the opponent, when you're testing, the same opening hand. Like, even if our opponent had Ash Blossom in a hand like this and used it on the Focalization, we could definitely still use Swap Frog and Almirasj to get plays, right? But let's go ahead and normal summon that Grimness. For the purposes of just demonstrating the combo, I'm just going to ignore the Ash Blossom here on either side. Can grab the Abyss directly from the deck. Now here I am taking the rest of my hand into account, right? I already have the Shadow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my 2 Gishki Abyss searches to grab 2 copies of Vision. This will let us do a couple of things here, right? It'll allow us to go, well, this is still the same so far. We're going to go into Elf now, activate Elf, bring back the Abyss. Oh, sorry about that. Had a little update thing there. Alright, Abyss is coming down, getting another search. Again, because I already have Shadow in hand, I'm actually going to grab another Vision. So this is something I was talking about before, right, that you can do if you're in a circumstance like this. We're going to use Gishki Vision to add a Neremanas. And I'm actually going to go ahead and activate my other Gishki Vision as well to grab my other Neremanas. And now I can use Shadow to grab... I'm not going to grab Photomirror. I'm actually going to grab the regular Aquamirror. Again, I was talking about this before in the actual kind of like when we were going over the list, right? But this is a neat little interaction you can do. We're going to use the regular Gishki Aquamirror to tribute a Neremanas. Sorry again about Adobe Creative Cloud giving me updates there. Right? We can activate Neremanas' effect. That will allow us to bring back the... We'll just do Vision here. It's fine. We could have actually... I did misplay a little bit. I could have specialed Swap Frog, discarding Abyss, and then linked Abyss and Swap Frog off into Sprind. Then when I Ritual Summoned Neremanas, I could bring back Abyss for a third search. But I don't really think that's that good here, because the Sprind doesn't have anything like super duper great to send here anyway. And... also, that would mean that the Neremanas is not the 5th summon, so that would play into Nibiru pretty hard. So, decided not to do that there. But, yeah, let's go ahead and activate the Aquamirror effect from the graveyard while I'm thinking about it. Get that Neremanas back into our hand. Okay, now we can special summon. I'm trying to think, actually, if we can summon Abyss again this turn. I don't think so. It'd be cool if we could, because we could actually search the other Shadow, pitch it for the Photomirror, and then just have 2 Neremanas on the board. That is something you can do sometimes, but I don't know if this hand would necessarily allow for that. Yeah, I just don't think we have another way to summon it. I could be wrong about that. Feel free to let me know if I am wrong in the comments below, but let's go for the Gigantic at this point. Why not? Gigantic F. Gonna go ahead and grab ourselves the Spright Blue, because we don't have access to that part of our engine just yet. We'll throw the Spright Blue down over here, activate the Spright Blue effect. And we can grab the Jet here. Alright, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna special summon Swap Frog. We can just pitch the extra Gishki Abyss, why not? Activate Swap's effect to send the Ronintoadin. Special summon Spright Jet as well. Activate Jet F. That will allow us to get a starter. Ooh, you know what? I actually put the Gigantic... it might not matter. I think I put the Gigantic in the wrong zone. We could have potentially saved it, right? Like, I'm kind of thinking about if I want to make, like, a Sprind here, for example. If I had put Gigantic here, I could have used these two to make Sprind. And then, well, and I could have used Starter to grab something else and then use that instead to make the IP, and I could have kept that live. But I think we can, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. We can still just make, like, the Shadow Mosquito here, and then we have the extra Starter to grab, like, the Red or something. Carrot actually probably would have been better because we already have Monster Negate, but that's just another kind of example of how you can combo a little bit with this kind of variant of Spright. So, there we go. Everybody's been talking about Kashtira and Rescue Ace, but I honestly am mostly excited for the new Gishki support. It's going to go hand in hand with this the Sprites to form this new variant. And again, as long as Spright Elf does not get banned, which I don't think it'll be banned, right? I think if it was going to get banned, it would have been during the huge wave of bans they just did. But assuming Elf doesn't get banned, this is absolutely the best variant of Spright moving forward. If Elf gets banned, you can definitely still play this variant. We just have to cook with our combo lines a little bit and try to figure out something else. I think the Nimble engine becomes vital if Elf gets banned. Using the Sprind to send the Angler and get more advantage will become a lot more important in that case. But that's pretty much all I've got for you. Just want to share a deck that's coming up here soon that I'm really excited about. So, yeah, hope you all are as well. I was actually talking a lot about this deck with folks over in my Discord. So, if you're interested in hanging out with us, talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! Or just hanging out in general, feel free to go ahead and check out the Discord link in the description below. That'll give you an invite over to our server. It's free to join, and there's hundreds of duelists already there. Like I said, we're all chatting about decks already, but that'll go ahead and do it for this video. Thanks everybody so much for watching. Let's go ahead and move now to our outro. Alright everybody, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching all the way to the very end. That means a whole lot to me, and it's also a fantastic way to support the channel. And if you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways besides YouTube, there are plenty of ways to do that. If you check out the description below, you'll find a bunch of links down there. One of them goes to my Patreon. You're actually seeing the names of everyone subscribed to the Patreon on the screen right now. So if you're interested in getting your name in the credits here at the end, if you want to see more daily Master Duel content, or if you're interested in one-on-one private coaching sessions, I offer all of that on Patreon. I also stream live on Twitch. Feel free to go ahead and click that link and follow and or subscribe there. I also have the Discord community, if you want to follow that link, where hundreds of duelists have already signed up. Free to join, and you can just come hang out, talk about the game, and chill in general. Final link that's going to be in the description is my Twitter. You can follow that if you want some more notifications of what's happening with the channel. So, all in all, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day.